Addiction is the epidemic of our generation. Every 4 minutes, people are overdosing in the U.S. Drugs and alcohol are tearing our families apart. The only way to combat addiction is through proper treatment and customized care. As people are slipping into the grips of addiction, nationwide, Banyan Treatment Center facilities stand as the leader in providing growth through recovery. Addiction does not discriminate. Do not let yourself or someone you know become another devastating statistic. Call now, 855-6-BANYAN.
When Honesty asked me to speak tonight, I thought I would prepare a speech. And then she said, no, she said, we really just want to know about your experience, what you've gone through. I, like so many parents, have a son who I never thought would grow up to be a drug addict. That's a taboo word, I know, but that's what most people call it, drug addiction. But he has a substance use disorder. Started when he was, 17. He would drink with his buddies. They would do bonfires. I really didn't think much of it because most teenage boys do that. I thought it was something he would outgrow. Well, with Gregory, he couldn't stop at drinking. It progressed to opioids. The opioid progression went on for a couple of years. We've had him in school. He would go to school, he would flunk out or just quit going completely because he was too wrapped up in his life of drugs. I can't even count the thousands of dollars that he stole from us. Jewelry, guns. I've gone to drug dealers' houses to buy my husband's guns back. I actually had one drug dealer came out and he was handing me the clip for the gun, and at first I thought it was, I just saw the metal flash and I thought, oh, he's gonna kill me. And then I thought, well, it'd be over. It'd be over. You get to that point because no one likes driving around the city of Richmond at 2 o'clock in the morning looking for their son behind dumpsters in dark alleys. You think the worst. Anything can happen to him out there. He wasn't brought up to act like this. I never thought substance use disorder would affect my family like this, but it's been a 10-year nightmare. I never wanted my son to have a criminal record because I knew how that would hinder his future. And the whole time I kept saying, this is a phase. He's going to outgrow this. He's just partying, He's just, once it gets out of his system, everything's going to be all right. And, at all costs, I kept him out of jail. I bought things back. I went to pawn shops. I paid drug dealers. You name it, I've done it to keep him out of jail for years. This went on for years. At one point, when Gregory thought we were going to make him go to another rehab, which he has been to several all across the country, and he decided he was going to stand up and take a stand and inject kerosene cleaner into his foot to kill himself. Well, that doesn't work, let me tell you. But you'll get a really bad infection and you'll come very close to having to have your foot amputated. I learned that. So he was in the hospital for a couple weeks with this nasty infection. I would take my younger children to school, drop them off, go sit with my son because that's what a good mother does. A mother saves her child at all cost. I would go and I would do this. Well, at one point, he got a card out of my purse, pushed his little IV pole down to the ATM and proceeded to withdraw $1,400. Yeah, heroin dealers, if you have the cash, they'll bring it to the hospital. I learned that. They'll deliver it anywhere if you've got the cash. So he managed to get $400 worth of heroin that night. And the next day they were going to release him. Something just made me check with my bank the next morning. I don't know why, it was just a feeling. And like I said, he'd done it hundreds of times before, but this was the last straw. I was so angry I could have choked him. And he said, Mom, I called him at the hospital. He said, Mom, they're going to let me go. And he said, he'd already spent $400. He said, I'm going to take this last $1,000 and buy $1,000 worth of heroin. And he said, it'll be over. And for a second, I thought, oh, it'll be over. Peace. What mother ever wants to think that? But when you're out driving around looking for your child and you don't know if he's been beaten, abused, killed, if he's cold, if he's hungry, At least when they're dead, you know where they are. I really got to that point. And I had to get to that point before I brought in the justice system. And then when I did, oh, it was a whole different ball game. My husband's good friends with the captain on the police force at Richmond. He came and sat with me outside the hospital while 2 of the DEA agents went upstairs and arrested my son before they dismissed him. Gregory still had the $1,000, so he was charged with some type of felony for stealing my money. That started a long stint with the criminal justice system. They put him in jail for about 3 months. He got out. He was on parole, of course. What did he do? They did nothing to treat his addiction, so he goes right back into using. Then he fails the drug test. Failed parole. Went back for another 3 months. Come back out. He goes back home where I'm from, Southwest Virginia. Proceeds to get in even more trouble up there. They arrest him and put him in jail for a year. Now, I could have gotten him out of this time, but I'm like, no, maybe this will do something. This will teach him. So after a year, Gregory gets out. He serves his time. He comes back to Richmond, but he has to meet his parole officer because keep in mind, he was on parole down here for the first time I had him charged. Well, he went before the judge, and the judge said, Mr. Jones, I don't think you're remorseful enough. He put him in jail for 22 months. Keep in mind, he'd just been in for a year. He got 2 weeks off in between that. They put him back in for 22 months. I had gone to visit my son. I had talked through the phone with the plexiglass. You know, I've been searched going through there. No parent should have to go through that to see their child. Then Gregory gets out, owes thousands of dollars. Like Mr. Astrop said, you know, they charge them for their bed fees. Even though they can't work while they're in there, if they're not in there for an extended period of time, I don't know who's supposed to pay that. But with the fines and everything, he gets out of jail. Of course, he's lost his license due to the drug issues. But it just seems like when the addict is in such a position that they're already down on their luck, why do you want to put them through the justice system and put them out with all these fines, no driver's license, but yet you tell them you've got to get a job, you've got to work, you've got to pay these? How? The justice system is so far off with this. We need help. We don't need, the justice system, like I said, Gregory did things, he broke the law, but he did it because of his addiction. I just think that we need to try to treat them before we punish them. Thank you. Thank you, sir.